Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video from Armoury Antiques and Militaria and our YouTube channel. Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, do consider doing so, so we can get our videos out to the masses so they can learn about original items, what to look for, and of course the amazing variety of items that we have coming through the shop down here in Tavistock, Devon. We're specialists in Fairbairn and Sykes fighting knives. And we've been dealing in these for over 35, 40 years. And we've learned an awful lot from reading, research and handling hundreds of these items. But in addition to that, from many books that are available, such as the Fairbairn and Sykes Fighting Knife and Other Commander Knives by Ron Fluke, a great reference book. Ron is a personal friend of ours. He visits the shop quite often. If you look on our blog, he comes to the shop quite often. And I've known him since I was like 13 years old. And I've learned an awful lot from him as well. Ron is the closest that you will get to the finest knowledge on Fairbairn and Sykes knives and other fighting knives. He's written numerous books and I trust him wholeheartedly. So we've got that experience of learning from the best, handling loads of these items over the years. And what have we got in front of us? Well, unusually today for you, we've got a bit of a treat. We've got a first pattern Fairbairn and Sykes knife, 2 second patterns and a third pattern. So we've got the standard 3 patterns that were available during World War II. Now, some of you out there are going to go, oh, they did different ones than that. They did ribbed and beaded and all this. Yes, they did. They did variations. And there's always, this is my argument, it backs up my argument with anything. There are always variations of swords, daggers, that sort of thing. And this is a good example. So yes, you do have ribbed and beaded. And yes, you have wooden handled ones and you get variations. But I'm showing you the 3 standard types of Fairbairn and Sykes knives that were issued from 1939 to 1945. So the differences, well, they're really simple when you know these daggers inside out like we do. But for people that don't know, they just simply don't know. So what we've got here, on the first pattern dagger, we've got quite a rough grip, checkered grip, it's quite rough. And what you'll find is the guard is S-shaped. Can you see it's slightly S-shaped? So if I hold a second pattern up, you'll see the second pattern guard is quite straight and the first pattern one is S-shaped. That's one of the differences. We'll look at the blade in a minute. Now the scabbard's really important on these as well. So if you had a first pattern FS dagger like this one here, and it didn't have its scabbard, you're talking about 50% less in value. That's the difference it makes. Now, we'll look at all the blades in a second, but there's lots of ways of telling if one is genuine or if it's a copy, and I'll take you through that as well. This is part 1 of the video. So if you look at a second pattern, you get variations of these as well. Some of them you'll get the parkerized finish left on the handle. So the parkerization is simply blackening to the handle, which is made of brass under here. And quite often you'll find that it's worn away through use because it's handled, it's carried and it's used. The cross guard, as I've said, is straight. And quite often you'll find with the scabbards, the elasticated retainer on the scabbard is sometimes broken and is not in good repair. They break over time and deteriorate over time. So that's not uncommon. You'll find with this one, it's got its tabs on it and the belt loop. But quite often these are removed, but it's nice to have the original scabbard on this second pattern example. In addition to that, I just put this one next to the other one. This is a second pattern without a scabbard, just to show you. A different finish again, it's the nickel finish one, which is a variation, just to show you there are some variations. You're seeing me touch the blade, but don't worry, I'll clean the blades later, it's not a problem. And then we come down to the third pattern. Now the third pattern is probably the most common example you'll see, and a lot of people are taken advantage of by buying a third pattern that they think is World War II and they're not, they're post-war. There are lots of people out there that like to fool people or sell things in their view as due to their ignorance and they think it might be. Well, that's rubbish. We know if something's genuine or not by many features we find on third pattern daggers, and it's very easy to see. Now this one, as you can see, has its scabbard, the original scabbard, but it's lost the top part. Can you see that? And that's quite often the case where they've removed it because they carry it in a certain way. So they remove the top part, and they might remove these tabs, as I said, on the back of the scabbard here. Can you see these ones here? They quite often remove those because they're being worn in a different way. Many people who issued this during World War II carried them in different ways. So depending on how they wanted to carry them and how useful it was to them. Now, with the third pattern, you'll notice, unlike the first pattern, it's got this really rough textured handle. The second patterns are similar with this rough texturing to the handle and different type pommels, either S-shaped guards on the first pattern or straight on the second. You've got a straight guard on the third pattern and this ribbed kind of design. Now, what you'll find with these is you'll get preening marks on the top nut here where they're put together in a vise, but also you'll find where the actual join is in the material of the handle when it was made or molded. It's very, very slight. And you'll find that on the later ones, it's more obvious to see. Sometimes you'll get markings around here on the dagger, on the handle, but more importantly, up here, you'll find a number. And I don't know if you can see that in camera shot, there's a number there, and I think it's the number 3, and it's raised up. It's not punched in, it's raised up, because there were 4 companies that made these handles in Birmingham, different companies, and there was different company codes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is a number 3. Really nice example. Sometimes you'll find markings on the top of the guard here, like on this one. It says B2 with something else on it, and we'll go through the blades later on. There are various marks on these, and I'll show you later on. Now, every dagger we get, we thoroughly examine, and anything that we think, oh, is a little bit different, we will often speak to Ron, send photographs and speak to him about them for verification. So our daggers are all okay and in really good condition and correct. Now, small things, small details, like on the pop studs on the first pattern, they must be by Nui. The pop studs are the same as on these Paris mocks. Same company used to make them, but they're always by Nui. And we've got premium marks on the top of the first pattern here. And you'll find them on all of the daggers if they're original, because it's the way they were constructed. Right, we'll take them out the scabbards and I'll come back to you. Welcome back. So they're at the scabbards now. And let's start off with the first pattern. Now, the first pattern, as I said, you'll have preening marks on the top nut, which is where they're put together in the vise. If you don't see that, walk away. They're always like that at the top, so just be careful. If you need any daggers verified, by the way, come to see us. We really do know our stuff when it comes to FS daggers, as I've said in part 1, and we can take you through it. Now, first pattern daggers, they're really, really desirable. A really good condition one, a nice mint blade with the panels and everything else. You're talking about, you won't get a good one for under 3,000, more like 4,000 if it's a real one. This one, sadly, has got quite a stained blade, as you can see. It's not pitted, it's just stained, and it's affected the panels. The panels are there in the light, you can see them. It would clean, but we haven't bothered cleaning it. The panels are there, it's absolutely right, but it's not in pristine condition. I sold a pristine condition to a pristine condition FS dagger with provenance, with its scabbard, named to a lieutenant colonel, and there's lots of history with it, and I sold that for £6,500. So if you get the right dagger with the right provenance, you know, the sky's the limit. This one is a good collectible example with the panels, but it's got some staining, so it can be improved. But it's sound, there's nothing wrong with it, and it's got its original scabbard. S-shaped guard, as I said, different shaped blade. If you look at a second pattern, you'll see the blades are very, very different, okay? Ron Fluke's book, as I've shown you in part 1, will help you with identifying these. But nevertheless, a first pattern with its original scabbard, highly desirable, complete, honest, and interesting. Now, some people will say to you that the etched panels, if they've been erased or if they've been rubbed out, there's current thought on whether these were SOE issue ones, where they removed the actual FS panels and the Wilkinson panels. That's research that's going on currently. I've discussed it with Ron, and this one isn't one of those. It's a FS, just a little bit staining on the blade, simple as that. But it's nice to have a first pattern in the shop anyway. Not the best one you'll find, but it's a good one. So a second pattern here, you'll see the handle is very different. It's quite smooth in comparison to a first pattern. You've got the preening marks here around the top of the nut. You've got the brass showing through, and the parkerization is wearing through. You can see the brass because it's been carried, all right? Underneath on the cross guard, any marks? No marks on this one. Blade is in really nice condition with its parkerized finish, and we've got the triangular panel here, which signifies that it's a hand-drawn example. So a nice example of this. Again, it'll be clean later on, so don't worry about it if you see me touching the blade. So that's the second pattern. We've got another one here, as I said, without a scabbard, just to show you a comparison, because it's a nickel variety. Preening marks around on the top nut, as you can see. Straight crossguard, a rough grip here. And then on the actual crossguard here, we've got the crow's foot, the War Department crow's foot, a 5 and another numeral. Difficult to show on camera, but I can tell you that it's definitely there. Blade's in really good condition, and if we turn it over, we've got a small triangular section at the top here, which again signifies it's a hand-drawn blade, beaten out, not machine made. This one's got staining, it's not pitted, and it's a good representative example of the nickel variety of the second pattern. Moving on to the third pattern, I've said quite a bit about this already. Really nice parkerized blade on it. The triangle, as I've mentioned already, signifies hand-drawn blade. Really good condition. Mould number to the top, as it should be, punched out so it stands up, not in. That's really, really important when you talk about these. With its original scabbard being modified for use, but a third pattern. So what you've got here is the whole raft of the basic patterns of what was issued from 1939. Now, from memory, don't hold me to this, and I'm sure I'll be corrected in the comments below. The first pattern came out in 1939 and 6,000 were issued. Then in 1940 onwards, you had the second pattern, 1940 to 43. And then in 1943 to 45, you had the third pattern come out. So there's a little raft of the standard issue Fairbairn and Sykes fighting knives of World War II. These will no doubt go to serving or former Royal Marines or SF, that means Special Forces. We sell an awful lot of these to those people because they want a World War II period example that is original and correct and in collectible condition. More and more so now, you're finding that first pattern daggers are almost impossible to find. And when they do sell, they sell for an awful lot of money, as I've said. The record that we've sold one for was £6,500, but that's because it was a unique example with absolutely fantastic provenance and in mint condition. We've had, no joking, we've had hundreds of these daggers, first, second and third patterns over the years, but we're seeing less and less of them come about or come onto the market. And we find a lot of ones that have been messed about with and ones that aren't original because people have been sold them, for instance, as a third pattern, but it's quite obvious they're post-war. And we can tell by the scabbards. So I haven't got one here to show you, but on the second patterns, for example, you'll often find rivets at the back. Now, if they're solid rivets, let me show you an example of a solid rivet post-war scabbard. This is a post-war scabbard, all right, modern made. Okay, let's get that clear. But you'll see it's got solid rivets, okay? And you'll find the solid rivets will always be post-war, but you'll find that some people will marry together an original dagger with a post-war scabbard or vice versa. So you've got to be careful. They must be hollow, as in they're cut out, they're hollow rivets. But there's variations on the second pattern scabbards and there's variations on other scabbards. So just be open-minded, read the books, speak to people like us that know what we're talking about and other people like Ron Fluke, and they are great sources of information to stop you from making a mistake. Okay, so that's a very quick video on the Fairbairn and Sykes standard patterns, first, second and third patterns. If you're interested in any of these, please contact us down here at Armoury Antiques and Militaria. Be happy to give you further information. In fact, this morning we've had 2 people come in on these very daggers asking for advice and guidance on what's original and what isn't, and we've been able to help them. We're here and produce videos to help people so we can help them and to stop them from making mistakes and to buy the things that are original and to avoid any of the copies or the things that are sold by people that are not quite what they seem. If you need any more help, as I said, contact us. Don't forget to subscribe. We look forward to doing another video for you very soon. But in the meantime, as I always say at the videos, please stay safe, enjoy the hobby. We hope you find the things that you're looking for, and we look forward to doing another video for you very soon. Thank you for watching. Okay, welcome back, and this is the last part of this video, and we're going to talk about this particular dagger here, which is to all intents and purposes a second pattern, as you can see, with the parkerized grip and the brass coming through where it's been handled. And we've got the triangular section here, which is, you know, indicative of a hand-drawn blade. This one's in fantastic condition, and I'll hold it up to the camera for you to have a look at. Now let's look at the top nut, see if we've got any preening on there. Yes, we have. Yeah, we've got it on there. Let's have a look there and here. And if I show you next to another second pattern, let me just grab that out. So here's a comparison. Okay. Let's pop that one back. So this example was made for me by a friend of mine who is exceptionally talented, and he handmade this and took him 3 months. He made this from scratch. And I'm showing you this for a reason. This will never be sold. This was a present for me that's been made by a very, very close friend of mine. But I wanted to bring your attention to how good it is and how easy it would be to sell this, or for someone who was dishonest to sell this as a World War II example. It would fool 99.9% of people out there that it was a World War II example. It's that good. And I'll tell you why. When this was made, Ron Fluke, who, as I said, is a good friend of mine, and my friend who made this is a good friend of Ron, went to Ron and he got the original War Department plans for the making of the second pattern Fairbairn and Sykes knife. This is exactly to those specifications. Identical. So none of you out there can say, oh, it's not right, it's not done right. It's been made specifically from the War Department plans. How good is that? And I'm very proud to say that I've got that as a present from my friend, and that will go into my personal collection and never leave it. That means the world to me, and I wanted to share it with you, not only in honour of my friend who's made this for me, and it's taken him 3 months to make. This is all handmade. The blade is handmade, hand filed, hand finished. We're talking about a superior piece of workmanship here. Okay? And to show you what can be done when we have professional craftsmen who have been trained professionally, who, when they put their mind to it, they can make anything. And in his words, if it's been made before, it can be made again. So I just wanted to show you, in admiration really of this piece, but also as a warning to you, be careful. Okay? What one man can do, another man can do. So just be careful. But this is going nowhere. This is going in my collection, and I think it's wonderful. And to the War Department specification that was issued during World War II from Ron. Fantastic. I hope you enjoyed that. That was a little bonus for you, and something that I don't think any other dealer would be able to do. And I'm so proud to have that and to show you that object. Okay, once again, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Put some comments down below, and we'll speak again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.